So, welcome everyone to the Science of Sustainable High Performance. This is an AMA session with the Culture Amp People Science Research Team. No big deal. They're looking at like 30 plus million data points and like just, thousands of customers that use Culture Amp. And uh, this is an expensive meeting, is what I'll say. And I'm really glad you all are here. So, recently we came out with a new report, obviously, the Science of Sustainable High Performance. These two are going to share the latest and greatest research with us. I wanted to make sure this was a closed forum just for Culture First chapter leads and a handful of like extremely active ambassadors in the People Geek Slack community and champions in that community um, as a way for you all to have like exclusive access to these two incredibly smart, knowledgeable, and very kind humans that we have today with Frisia and Heather here today. Words are hard. And then before I hand it off to Heather to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the report, we'll do a grounding. We'll go through the science of all the research that they've uncovered about high performance. And then we'll have a chance to do like open forum AMA and just like geek out and totally nerd out together. Especially excited for you, Nia, with like your like I know how much you love performance and things like that. So, um, if you all would join me, if you don't already have your camera turned off, please turn off your camera. We're going to just take a moment to get here, ground ourselves. Um, Someone recently said to me, like, what if we all just had like a little sign that we walked around that just said, like, handle with care? And I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, we don't know what everyone's been going through or navigating at the moment. And so it's a chance for us to handle one another with care, but also handle ourselves with a little bit of care. So we're just going to take a few moments to get here, get quiet, check in with ourselves, and then we'll come back and begin this meeting. So in whatever position you're in, get yourself comfortable. If you could just make yourself 10% more comfortable in whatever position you're in, do that. Maybe it's getting some wiggles out. Maybe it's rolling your shoulders, checking in with your jaw, making sure that's not clenched. Maybe giving a little neck roll. And then shutting down the eyes if you are able and comfortable, or just a soft gaze, noticing whatever it is you're staring at. I'm just going to do a couple rounds of breath. So we'll do 3 rounds of box breathing, and then we'll check in and then we'll come back. So when you're ready, go ahead and begin your inhale. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, exhale. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, inhale. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, exhale. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4. One more. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, hold. 2, 3, 4, exhale. 2, 3, 4. And then just let your breath go back to its normal state, not needing to change anything dramatically, just noticing your breath. And going inward, just noticing your energy today. How are you feeling? Not needing to judge it, just noticing. If you were to give yourself a color, what color would you be to describe how you're feeling? Our normals are like red, yellow, or green, but red's like, woof, I barely made it. Yellow's like, I'm okay. Green's like, heck yes, ready to go. Or maybe you're like not feeling that at all and you're like, I'm purple. That's cool too. But just noticing what color you are to describe how your energy is today. Again, not judging it, taking a moment of appreciation for you showing up today, handling yourself with care, and taking the moment to invest in your professional development today, which is also not a small thing. When you're ready, go ahead and start to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, flutter the eyes open if they were shut. And when you're ready, come on back with your camera on. All right, all right. All right, give us a little rename. Drop in, so if you don't know how to rename yourself, go over to yourself in the participants section, click on the more option next to your name, and there's a drop down feature that'll say rename. So add your chapter too and your color. So keep your name, add your chapter, and add a little color next to yourself. Neon
Like
green. Oh,
like the color we thought of just now in the check-in.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Ooh, lavender. I like it. And thanks for the folks that are like, I'm red and I'm not feeling it today. I appreciate you just showing up and being here. Because we can't always sustain high performance, team. That is the message of today. All right, I am going to hand it off to Heather Walker. She has a PhD, no big deal. She studies organizational psychology. She is the senior data journalist for Culture Amp and is on the research team. So can we give a little bit of love and recognition? Come off mute, give Heather some love. Thanks for being here.
Whoop whoop whoop.
Ooh,
Ooh.
thanks, Heather.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
Welcome,
nice.
Heather.
I love that. I love coming off of mute. I feel like so many meetings, everybody just stays off mute or on mute the whole time. So I hope several times throughout this, y'all are coming off mute to share. I've designed the session that way. Oh, we're on the grounding, right? Are you seeing my screen? Everything is good there?
We
We
sure
see
are.
your presenter notes.
Yeah.
You can see my presenter notes?
Classic Zoom share, you know? Classic.
How did that even happen?
There's like a million things that you could share when you press share nowadays. You're like, okay.
Okay, it just says only offering desktop. What in the world?
I can also share
Yeah.
for you if you want, if that would be easier.
Perfect.
That worked?
Yep.
You got it.
Okay. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Heather Walker. You probably see I have red in my color today. And I wish with every fiber of my being that I was showing up green today, but it's just not that day for me. So I am going to be as peppy as possible, but I am not my typical peppy self. So thank you for your grace and space and tolerance of my lower affect. But I am really excited about this session with you all and sharing these results with you and hearing from you about how not only how they're landing, but like what kind of norms you're experiencing around performance at your place of business. I'm starting here with a quick shout out to Frisia, who's also on the call. Frisia, feel free to jump in at any point if you want to add. Frisia is our fearless leader on the research team. She's our director of people science research. I'm our data journalist. And then we also have on our team two data scientists and a data analyst. And so we have a small but mighty team. Okay, what we're going to do today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the methodology. I always like to give a little bit of room for the geeks, for the nerds in the house. I'm pretty sure that's most of you, given that you love to lead in this space. And then I will go over some of the key findings. I'm going to get a little bit philosophical because you all are leaders. I want to enter into this slightly different space that's less like me lecturing you on what we found and more like hearing about your experience. So we'll get experiential. And then I have discussion questions as a part of that peppered throughout. And of course, we're going to have lots of time for you to just ask whatever burning questions that you have that you already came in with. Can you all show me either with a raise of hands for those on camera or in the chat, have you seen the performance report already or the blog about it? if you have seen it. I'm seeing lots of no's. Okay, so some of this actually might be pretty new for us. Okay, well, that's good. Oh, my chat's not open. Let me go see. We dropped the not yet, not yet. Okay, good. This will be fun. My affect is already picking up a little, y'all. Thank you for your presence. Okay, let's get into it. So this methodology, this is a really big slide. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just rest assured you're going to get this slide deck at the end and you can look into the nitty-gritty details if you want. And then also once you do download that report, all of this is in the report also at the end with this like detailed explanation of what we did. But essentially, we looked at 500,000 employees. There are regional breakdowns here, industry breakdowns, and process-wise, what I really want to call out is that we had to standardize ratings because companies use really wild rating scales when they are conducting performance evaluations. Like, I wish I had some of the funny ones on here. Frisia, do you remember any off the top of your head? There's like,
There was one that was, oh no, oh, so close. Oh, wow.
yeah.
That was a true rating scale.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we also had rating scales that were like, 100 different ratings that an employee could be assigned, down to the more typical, like, even down to 2. I think 2 was the smallest. I don't think we had any in just 1, but yeah. And so we had to standardize, and there we have the medians for the buckets that we standardized to. We also gave them labels. Needs development, consistently meets expectations, exceed expectations, and then this category of setting a new standard, which is really what we're qualifying as high performance. So I think in our minds, in a lot of employees' minds, high performance does often look like exceeding expectations. Like that fits into that bucket for a lot of folks. But for the sake of this research, we looked pretty exclusively at that 4 category. There were some exceptions, but you can read about those in the report if you'd like, for how we standardize those. But we standardized them all. It was a combination of machine learning and then some manual checking as well. Any questions about the methodology before I keep going? Okay. All right. So our first big finding, and you might have already seen this because I feel like we're blasting it everywhere, but only 2% of employees can sustain high performance over multiple cycles, which is pretty mind-boggling to me. Like, I understand that setting a new standard is something really unique, but when we look at how sustainable it is, how many employees can have that 2 cycles in a row, 2% is all. 500,000 employees. Like, that's pretty mind-boggling. When we look at the breakdown further, what we see is that 83% of employees are never assigned a high performance rating over 3 years, 6 cycles. So that's a lot of employees who like never see that. 11% receive a top performance rating, so a 4, that setting a new standard. 11% see it 1 time. 5% see it twice over those 6 cycles over 3 years. This is a combination of those who are in this 2% bucket who saw it consecutively and those who didn't. So like maybe cycle 1 and maybe cycle 6, they would still be included in this 5%. Now this 2% is really where we're looking at exclusively for sustainable high performance. How many or what percentage of employees can get a high performance rating 2 cycles in a row consecutively? Really small. Does that surprise anybody?
That's bananas.
Doesn't. Okay, I'm seeing some nods. It surprises some people, some head shakes. It doesn't for others. And I'm glad we're seeing a mixed response. It's going to be our first discussion. I really want to hear from you all. What I'm finding when I have more conversations with folks around this insight in particular is that what employees believe is happening around performance management typically sets someone up to either, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, or sorry, no, it doesn't surprise me, or yes, it does. So I want to hear from you. What beliefs do employees have about performance management at your company? What are they thinking about the process? What do they think is going to happen? Anyone can just jump in. Go ahead, Christy. You're muted though. Oh, yeah.
Interesting from a coach. I'm a coach, do executive coaching, and I would have imagined that there's many people who always get exceeds, and that it's devastating when they don't.
Mhm.
And so that does surprise me, because I would think that there's certain team players that sort of like, that's their MO. And yeah, and I coach people when like suddenly they didn't and they were expecting to. So that's surprising for me.
Mhm. Casey, I saw you unmuted too.
Yeah, we have a bit of a forced curve at our company, and so like 65% of people are in like the middle, like strong performer sort of area, which is the middle of the curve. And a lot of people feel that our performance management is lazy because most people just go in that bucket. And there's a lot of beliefs around like favoritism for the people that get really high, and no one gets like the bottom score. Managers are scared to do that because that means they get like 0% bonus, 0% equity. So like people are scared to give people the lowest score because it has really negative implications.
Interesting.
It's a question about this. Are they staying in the same roles over time? Because I could see them, someone's a really high performer and then they put them in a stretch assignment or a stretch role and they're just not going to do as well. So are they in the same roles over this time period?
It's a great
Bridget?
question. So that was really hard for us to answer across customers, since it's hard to tell when like a role change is actually a role change or it's just a title change. But we did look at that with our people analytics team internally at Culture Amp. And so we do see what you would expect of when someone is promoted, they are less likely to be able to sustain, right? Because there's a different expectation for what setting a new standard would be at the new role. So we do see sometimes it's probably a good thing that someone's not sustaining high performance, because we are giving them more opportunities and they're being challenged and continuing on that kind of growth path. That's not the only thing we see though, because we also see that there are indicators of burnout, as someone put in the chat, for those high performing employees.
Yeah. Neha?
Yeah, hi. So I also have a clarification question, which is when you say only 2% employees kind of sustain this rating, so to say, is this the rating, like the overall rating or the rating given by manager? What kind of rating it is? Because one trend that I've also seen a lot in numerous organizations is that definitely peers have a difficult time giving that kind of proper rating. And the moment you put like exceed expectations or star performers, peers, especially if they have a good relationship, they will tend to give a higher rating, which kind of skews the overall rating, especially in organizations that have this 360 sort of performance review. So what did you observe when you were looking at the insights?
So this is looking at the manager rating specifically. So while you can give peer feedback in Culture Amp, most of the time we don't recommend that peers would be rating each other for the reasons that you outlined, because they're often not as accurate, but they are giving good feedback into what they're seeing from their side of things.
Understood. Yeah.
Michael?
Interested to know, I'm curious about if you track financial rewards being associated with these scores, because that's going to be a limiting factor if you have a certain amount of budget, etc. So actually, do you track anything else that's actually aligned with this in the background, because that may limit and hold back some of that scoring?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't have access to that pay data. It would be wonderful to be able to know that. But I do think that's probably a limiting factor, although even when there is a link between pay and performance, you would want your highest performing employees to be allocated the most budget, right? So like if someone is truly outperforming, you would be giving them that 4 again, unless you have some sort of arbitrary, someone can only receive a raise X number of times or something like that. But I do think a lot of companies do think that way. Is that how you have experienced companies
Yeah, so
before? Yeah.
I worked in an organization that was obsessed with this stuff. However, they had brackets of only 4 or 5 people could be in the 5, and then you had some 4s and 3. So actually it was a bit of a full scale. And some people, for financial reasons, were held back as well. So actually in my experience, it's very much a limiting factor. It doesn't truly represent it. And it gets aggregated. So I wonder how much of that scoring is actually statistically modelable without actually looking at the people. Does that make sense? So this is going to happen because this is what humans do anyway. You've got a team of 10 people, your scores are going to end up in the expected pattern anyway.
Yeah. I've also gotten questions about like a regression to the mean, if setting a new standard is something that's like rare and more about right timing, right place, kind of luck oriented, then it's going to make sense that people will drop back down to exceeding expectations. You know, an idea. I wanted to ask about the beliefs, because what employees believe is impacted by the set of norms and structural processes that are leading them to create and maintain those beliefs, right? Like it's sort of a self-fulfilling cycle in a way, but it is supported structurally with the processes that we have in place, which is a lot of what our research ended up sort of uncovering, is that performance and high performance is very environmental and has a lot more to do with the environment than perhaps we like to think. So our next finding, I'm going to take some time to explain that title. I love talking about unicorns, so I'm going to go for it every chance that I get. This finding, though, is looking at specifically the 16 and the 9% together, which is 25% of the people that we looked at, employees that we looked at, who did get a high performance rating across those cycles. When did they see their first one? Actually, not across the 6 cycles. When did they see their first one? And so we do see in the beginning, quite a few people are seeing it early, seeing their first high performance rating early, but 25%, 1 in 4 are not. This sort of disproves the idea that high performance is a character trait, that someone either is a high performer or is not. Because if someone either was or was not, it would not take 18 plus months for them to be recognized for the first time. Okay. And so for us, this was a really compelling finding because it counters one of the really popular beliefs that we see across organizations globally, which is we need to hire for high performance. We need to find the high performing employees and then sort of pump them for all that they've got because you either are a high performer or you're not. So this is a really powerful finding in our eyes. Love to learn more about the physical well-being of people. Yeah. I'm trying to remember if that finding is in here, but we do see that well-being is lower for high-performing employees, and that's a consistent finding across the multiple years that we have looked into performance, not just this report. Yeah, we're going to get to that, Carrie, too. Okay, so the second piece that is building into our idea that performance is not a character trait, but it's a state, is what we see in the Sankey chart. So Sankey shows us change over time. And here we have employees represented in cycle 1, going from the bottom rating, did not meet expectations, met expectations, exceeded, and set a new standard. Are you seeing my mouse? Okay, cool. Just wanted to check. On our new Teams, it doesn't show it. So perfect. Yes, it's a pretty chart. We love Sankey charts. So what we can see and observe from this is that the employees who are at set a new standard at cycle 1 are sometimes dropping 2 ratings the next cycle. And similarly, we see employees who are even just at the meeting expectations jumping all the way up to setting a new standard. And so this rise and fall, these waves, are evidence that performance is cyclical, not a personality trait. Again, because if it were a personality trait, we would expect to see a really solid line and no deviation in between that. Now, I think all of us know here Like this is also kind of a duh, right? We know that nobody performs at their peak level all the time. We know of athletes who have a nice bench to rest at, who have teammates they can lean on. And so we have good examples in the sports world and then also in fields like aviation and healthcare where professionals are not allowed to work past a certain amount because it is widely known that for optimal performance, maybe it's for safety, like with healthcare and aviation, but maybe it's for something else. They need time to rest. And so that's built in. But in the broader world of work, especially when we're looking at knowledge work, this seems to be ignored. We seem to push employees as far as they can go, as often as they can, and just like wait for them to fizzle out. So it's a good reminder that performance is cyclical and not a personality trait. So now I'm going to ask you another question. You're going to like kind of guess. So one of the things that we did in our research that we really loved was we compared the group of people who got rated as a high performer once and then declined a rating against those who sustained it for 2 or more cycles in a row. We looked at their experience, and there was one differentiator between those two groups. So everyone in both groups are high performing employees, right? They've been recognized for high performance. And what is the difference? What's unique about the group who is sustaining high performance? You want to take a guess? You can use the chat or just come off mute. What do you all think it is? If you've read the report, don't answer. Finding meaning in their
vacation time?
Use the vacation time. Work is their life, no balance. What other things? A culture carrier, yeah, or culture creator. I could see that. One thing really stood out. Any other guesses before I reveal? Maintain same manager cycle. Oh, that's an interesting one. Any other guesses? I'll give you a hint. Someone already talked about it in the chat.
Is it the well-being piece?
It's not the well-being piece. It's where our sustained high performing employees have an advantage. Manager. Okay. Are we ready? Yes. Austin just got it. I was just waiting for one. It's psychological safety. That's the real differentiator that we see. So employees who have been able to sustain high performance feel more psychologically safe at work. They feel that when they share their opinion, it's valid. So here, look at the difference, 89 to 74%. All people in this group are high-performing employees. They've all been recognized for that. And yet we see this huge difference. I feel safe to take risks here. And my manager gives me useful feedback on how well I'm performing. So not only do they feel willing and safe to share their opinion, even when it's contrary, but they're more confident that their manager will give them constructive feedback when they do. Is this surprising to anybody? No, it's yeah, not a bit. Good. So the next thing that we looked into was sort of more environmental. What's happening at the company? Where are we seeing high-performing employees experience differing from lower-performing employees? And I want to take a moment here again to have some discussion about what you think it might be. You all are people leaders of various groups, various industries. What do you think, like what would you do if you were trying to boost performance for your employees? What would be a tactic that you might use? Thanks for answering questions in the chat, Freesia. Pre-mortems after. Someone was saying something.
I want to say, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, Heather, for me, it's even the starting point, like before we sustain high performance, for me, it's important where we're starting with high performance, because I've seen so many high performers where the fuel behind that high performance was not healthy on individual level. And at the company level, the company was using that fuel. So you see what I'm heading, like my career started in legal practice. So the performance was very easy to manage, billable hours. And I saw that the highest performing people were even kept so tight in that race. And I saw that at individual level, it was the opposite, actually. I wish they were cyclical or whatever, not sustained, because the starting point was not healthy. And the company was just riding those people, being blind to what was the driving force of their high performance. So for me, that is also as important part of the picture as the ways to sustain high performance. Like, what's the quality of that high performance in the first place? Where it's coming from, you know?
Yeah. How does it affect quality of life? I think law firms are known pretty widely, at least in North America, for being places where there's extremely high competition and where people tend to overwork. There's a reputation that law firms operate that way. I think there are other industries where we see similar trends. What would we do in an industry like that?
And so again, you see, it's like the environment, the culture, the container is as important as individual consciousness about it. Because like, if I were a manager and I see someone is just whatever, high performing, very sustainable, like always overachieving, but they're driving their train at their own life energy because of whatever reasons. So the part of psychological safety I'll be creating would invite that person to see where they are. And that could fire back against the performance by making it more sustainable, bringing it back to the whatever more or less natural cycle or whatever. Even just a tiny grain of awareness on individual level for that person could be, could bring, less whatever sustainable or, impressive numbers for that person. But for me, that would be part of psychological safety. So I think it's a much complex picture. Yeah.
Yeah. Frisia, if you want to add, let me know. But we did find both cycles, and Michael, I'll come to you next. Both times that we've looked at this research, that high-performing employees have a harder time switching off from work. And so it might be the case that they're drawn to work in a different way. But because we still see that cyclical nature globally across all the industries that we're looking at, we still suspect that those people eventually will burn out. Even if it's 5 years and they somehow manage that workload and that stress, it's going to catch up to them at some point. Michael, what's up?
I had a thought around is it truly high performance if you have that culture that is that toxic that you burn out? So can you allow it to be classified as high performance actually if the space that performance is happening in is that detrimental to someone?
It's a really good question. I have thoughts. Does anyone else have thoughts, though? I think this is some of that philosophical debate, right? That's so important for us to have. Like, high performance is very hard to define, for one thing. Yeah. And then even if we define it as like hyper productive, at what cost? And is there a threshold of cost that gets us to the point where it actually isn't high performance anymore?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm in the UK, I'm not in the States, and I know in the States it's different. Long working hours may be expected, whereas in the UK it's not.
Yeah.
So if it's you work 70 hours and you get your win, is it? I don't know. It doesn't fit well to call it a high performance culture if you're burning people out.
Yeah. So you're looking at the organizational level. So I'll show you what we found now. when we looked at what was happening differently at organizations with a high proportion of high performers, and then how the experience is different for high performing employees, we really found three things. The first was onboarding. And specific to onboarding, it's really that employees who are rated onboarding questions much higher, much more favorably, were more likely to be high performers, right? And specifically in that, across the onboarding questions, it was alignment with the role that had the biggest impact. Frisia, was there another one that was the most important? Remembering that? Okay. I don't have it in my notes, but I'm pretty sure do you want to add anything to that piece?
Yeah, that was the most important. And then we also found things around like even just having quality one-on-ones with your manager early in your tenure. So kind of the basic things that you would expect, but now we actually have the data to back that up. And that is on page, let me see, 23, no, 24 of the report. If you want to see the exact, what percentage more likely they are to become high.
Thanks, Frisia. I love that. I love a good page call out. The next was goal setting. So we found that high-performing employees are setting more goals and getting and receiving more feedback in the platform. So again, we're Culture Amp, and we are looking at usage and how different levels or employees at different buckets of performance, how they're using our platform, and that's what we found. Also, again, with alignment, we also found that those higher performing employees are setting goals that align to business goals more often. So, and then the last was feedback, or not the last, actually, there's one more after feedback that's really important. I feel like feedback, several of you have mentioned, it's probably the most straightforward one, so I don't want to spend more time because we're already at 20 minutes.
Well, I do want to share the insight I always share.
Oh, yes, Frisia, go ahead. Please do.
So we did a really interesting linkage analysis with one of our customers, and we found that how employees respond to the question that their manager has given them useful feedback, which is a question in our engagement survey. So basically the employee's perception of if they're getting feedback from their manager was a stronger predictor of their next performance rating than their last performance rating. So it really shows how feedback is a leading indicator of performance, even more so than past performance. So just wanted to share how important feedback is.
Yeah, it's wild. We love that one. Stronger predictor of future performance than even past performance boggles my mind. Yes, I can say it again. Essentially, what we found was that the way that an employee responded to the question about their manager giving their feedback was more predictive than past performance was of future performance. It was more predictive. It gave you more information about what would happen in the next cycle, right? It's like fascinating. Past performance is not as strong of an indicator. But yeah, anyway, okay. And then this last piece is one that I love, not only because it's generating a lot of buzz and conversation, but because I think it gives so much power to leaders and really highlights the power that leaders have. So we found that there is this leader advantage when it comes to performance. So I'll draw your attention first to the yellow bars. So it's the proportion of high performing direct reports that fall under leaders who are in each of the buckets that are at the bottom. So starting here, if a leader was rated set a new standard, 18% of their direct reports are rated as setting a new standard as well, as high performing. And then we see that goes down the lower the rating of the leader. The inverse is also true, that when we have a low performing leader, the proportion of low performing direct reports is much higher under them. And as their performance increase, they have fewer lower performing employees. So our takeaway from this is that leadership performance has a multiplier effect. Okay, we have a lot of buzz around this because a lot of people are like, wait. This is a descriptive statistic. We cannot put directionality onto it. It could be the case that a set of higher performing employees are boosting the performance of the leader. That's a valid interpretation, I'll start by saying. The reason why that isn't what we went with and what we published is because we found that high-performing leaders are also buffering the workload for their high-performing employees. So they're where we usually see high-performing employees low in saying like their workload is too high. Under a high-performing leader, they answer that more favorably. So less of them are saying that their workload is too high. And then also we see that they're receiving more feedback across the board. Even for the group who we usually see that low for, which is our low-performing employees, usually they say that they're not getting enough feedback. But when they're under a high-performing leader, they are. And so that's why we went with the interpretation that we did. Frisia, I see you gave that a heart. Or you want to add to it or elaborate in case the way I said it was confusing?
No, I just love it. Glad you went the step further to explain what else we found. And we found that at Culture Amp. So we had some naysayers within Culture Amp where that said, oh no, it's because the employees are just making the leader look good. So to be able to do that one step deeper and show the impact of high performing leaders was really interesting.
Yeah, really fun. Another thing that goes along with this that adds to our interpretation is that we found this is our set of engagement questions. And I'm directing your attention to the question in the middle, which is that the company motivates me to go beyond what I would in a similar role elsewhere. Under a high performing leader, employees are more favorable for motivation. They want to do more. They want to go above and beyond more. They're extrinsically more motivated under high performing leaders. So great. I feel like there's so much power in this data, and it may, for some, confirm what you already believe, and that's okay. But it's nice to have data to put to what you think is happening, right? Okay. So if I were to take the big findings from our study and put them into one cute slide, this is what we found. Sustaining high performance is rare. Companies with high engagement also have more high-performing employees. I didn't cover that today, but it is in the report. So definitely go check out the report. Employees who sustain high performance feel more psychologically safe at work, and leadership performance is a multiplier. So those are the big takeaways. And then, of course, at Culture Amp, you all know that our mission is to create a better world of work. And so we never want to just stop at learning things to learn things or gaining knowledge to gain knowledge. We want to move past that into the action stage. So here we have some ideas to take forward to start working toward sustainable high performance and sustainable high performance cultures. That is what the cover of the report looks like. It's so pretty. You're gonna love it once you open it and check it out. And now the rest of the time, which is 13 minutes, we just have for questions. I know lots have come through in the chat, so we can start there if we want, or you can come off mute, whatever. Jesse, did you have an idea for how
my
would work?
This is awesome. Can we all come off mute, or if you're not able to, give a reaction or some love in the chat to Heather and Frisia for being here and sharing all this freaking research. Thank you so much. Whoa. Yeah, where shall we begin? I know there's questions in the chat. This is going to be a free for all. Whoever just like wants to raise their hand and ask a question, let's just do that.
Carrie.
Yeah, Carrie, go on, Queen.
This is amazing. What do you want to do next with this? Like, from what you learned, Frisia and Heather, what do you want to do next? Like, what do you want to dig into?
Well, I can start, and then Frisia, you add on. Maybe Frisia, you should answer because it's your. We've already started with what. Oh, just go. Okay. Okay. So if it isn't obvious, what we looked at here is individual performance. We want to look at company performance too. And so that's what we're doing next. We're looking at company performance and what high company performance looks like and how the experience changes for employees at those high performing companies. What's different about them? What's unique about them that's propelling them toward financial success and business success, organizational success and high performance. And like, you know, I'm really excited to see how that differs from what we're finding at the individual level also. And I can tell you, we already do have a couple of things that are different. And so I'm stoked. But Frisia, do you want to add? I didn't give specifics about how we did it. I'm gonna leave that up to you if you want to.
Sure. Yeah. Very excited to make the leap to organizational performance. So one of the ways that we're doing that is we're looking at companies on the Inc. 5000 list. And those companies have been able to sustain revenue growth across 3 years. And we happen to have a lot of customers who make the list. So we're looking at what's different in those companies. And Heather's background is in qualitative research, so she's also doing some interviewing of those customers. So excited to share those insights. And we're also really trying to look at team performance, which is so hard, but I feel like that was one of the big takeaways, is that sustaining individual performance is rare, but at the team level, it's not. And thinking of it as that Peloton, where it's being the biking structure, not the company, but who is in front might change so that other people can rest and rejuvenate. But it's where that Peloton is in general. That's what's important, not where individuals are within that. So we're doing quite a bit of work internally with our people analytics team to look at objective team performance and what the relationship is with that team experience and dynamics there. So those are the big things that we are excited. Oh yeah, birds flying and bees. Yes, it's a great one. That was an awesome question, Carrie. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Nia, handing it to you.
Thank you. So yeah, this was really incredible. I had already read the report and just, you know, kind of hearing all the insights or the summary and how they kind of correlate with each other was really great. So one of the things which kind of prompted as a thought process for me was, which also has been a part of my experience working with so many, particularly with so many startups, was everybody. I think you also mentioned a few times, one, there's so much stress on high performance, and second, it's so difficult to kind of define high performance. So my thought process is and was, which something I would always discuss with founders, is if you constantly want high performance, why don't you raise the standard of your expectations so that when people meet your expectations, it is like they are doing pretty well, and high performance is really an exception. So where does this whole meets expectation, what is the use of having that rating of meets expectation when your expectation is actually that you should be high performing all the time? So that is something which I have always been curious, you know, with my work experience, and you having dealt with so much data and, you know, working with so many insights. So I was just curious to know, what is your perspective on this? Did you feel that this is a narrative, or this is a conversation which people are actually having?
Hot take.
Yeah. I mean, Frisia, I almost want to punt this to you because I feel like I have probably a very similar spicy hot take as what was just described. I mean, I'm also like, maybe everyone is on some kind of social media. I would assume this day and age, the majority of people are. And there's a lot going on in like work talk, where we see a huge majority of employees are responding to this sort of feeling that a high performance rating is really unattainable. Because it's something mystical or like ethereal. It's out in space, and the only way for me to get it is if these certain business goals align. Even if I'm like burning myself out, I still might not get a high performance rating because it didn't align with the business objective that just happened to be priority at that moment in my business. I think there is a big counter narrative happening across social media and for a lot of employees to that effect. I don't know what that side is for employers, and I'm really curious about that. Go ahead, Jess.
I was literally just talking to Frisia actually in the chat about this because the way that our rating system works at Cultramp, I've had a significant rating score sustain that over 6 cycles, which is like that's pretty insane in my opinion. I'm like, dang, the fact that I like was able to keep that for that long. I've never had transformative since my time at Cultramp. And like yeah. And like that's like me being here like, 3 years or whatever. And I also think that comes back to organizations limit the number of people, like I know we do, we limit the number of people in team functions that they're even allowed to give those people those ratings. And so then that's why I'm like, well, yeah, of course it's rare because then you're like, well, I just gave it to so and so this last time, so they can't they can't have it this time. I have to give it to someone else because I need to be able to justify them getting a pay raise on my team. So, like to Nia's point, like there are folks who are definitely exceeding expectations or what we call now overperforming that wouldn't be classified as LOL balloons that wouldn't be classified as high performers on this report, which is like kind of mind-blowing and fascinating in my opinion.
Yeah.
That was the end of my / rant.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
But curious if Heather and Frisia, if you have other thoughts about that.
I mean, I think it's a really interesting conversation that we could talk about forever. Someone else talked about Netflix as well. And I think there is an interesting component that we're not able to look at of like, there are different types of people, and we're not saying they're high performers or not high performers. It's not that, but it's what your relationship is to work. It's how much of your identity you take from work. It's whether or not you will thrive in a super high pressure environment. I think, as Heather shared before, that probably wouldn't be sustainable over the long run. But there are organizations where, they only expect that and then there are other organizations where they do consider high performance to be a larger range. And that's something that's really difficult for us to account for in the research. And I think that's why I'm so excited about some of this qualitative research we're going to do to see, maybe we can get a little bit more to that cultural piece that we're missing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. Cool. Thank you for your insights.
Okay, maybe one more question, Natalia, and then I'm sorry, Christy, I'm not sure we'll have a chance to get to you, but this has been so saucy, but Natalia, go on.
Yeah, I just want to quickly thank for this, Jesse, Frisia, Heather. This is amazing to have access for us and to talk about all that. And it's again, going back to how we define high performance, this starting point, because I had almost 2 decades of very, very high performing nonstop career that almost cost me my life because I was not fully on board. And now I'm finding my way back to a different quality of high performance with a more complete version of myself. So I'm really, really curious about, the ways to measure that. And if it's really at all possible, and if it's going to be part of your qualitative research, I'm really, really curious if, it's on the, in your plans, or if it's even possible at all to kind of look into that and try to get some data on that. A bit of nuancing. Thank you.
I'm very excited for the qualitative. I love qualitative research, though. I guess have my textbook out from my grad school days. I'm not an IO psychologist, by the way. My degree is in a different field. Just
Oh, good to know. Sorry, I misrepresented you.
I snuck in. I think Christy, I mean, maybe we have.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is all so good. Love the finding about psych safety. That is just huge, huge. When people often associate like, oh, you need to take time off, you need to, some other things that would create this. Very cool. But you mentioned about well-being, and I'm so eager to hear about this, especially because I can picture Didier at the head of the watch party talking about the link between well-being and high performance and so on. It's not a trade-off, but what did you find about high performance and well-being?
So we found it multiple research digs across that. So basically, high-performing employees are scoring lower on well-being items. They're scoring generally higher on everything else. So overall, they're having an elevated experience in their state of high performance at the company. Like L&D is higher, the recognition is higher, engagement is higher, but well-being is lower. So it sets itself apart from the broader trend that we see happening with the experience of high-performing employees. And
that's such a dilemma in terms of like, we keep saying that they're linked and there is no, like one leads to the other. And so that actually affirms. It's interesting. I guess we need to redefine what we mean by well-being, because when we say they're high on quote everything else, that sounds like a package of well-being, but what was the quote well-being part that was low? Just saying, I feel a sense of well-being?
No, there are a set of questions in there. It's in the report, Christy. We have a visual that's dedicated to that.
Right.
Frisia, if you have it in front of you, maybe you know the exact wording and can share. Do you have that in front of you? 1 second. Good. That one I do know is I'm able to switch off effectively after work. So that's one well-being question specifically where they're lower.
Yeah, that's tricky because in this whole culture community, we often are like, we're really advocating, on the well-being side, and that it leads to high performance and so on. So perhaps if we use the cyclical mindset, it does, but this is fascinating.
Thank you, Frisia. Can you make it bigger?
That's what I was just trying to see if I could. There we go.
Perfect.
I rarely feel overstressed. So also employees who are given a did not meet expectations also feel overstressed. Being able to effectively switch off and slightly lower in believing their workload is reasonable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Super interesting.
Okay,
all right,
squad. We are 1 minute over. I dropped a link in Slack. Please go and leave your comments for this session about like what you all can do with this research. What did you think of the session? Was it valuable? Shall we do more of these in the future? That way we can build a business case to be able to spend more time with these amazing humans. So please go do that.
Yeah.
And then I know folks internally at Culture Amp would just love to hear your experience of this session. Okay, let's do a 1-word checkout. So 1 word to describe how you're feeling now at the end of this session. Give me a thumbs up when you've typed it into the chat, but don't press enter yet. So type in your 1 word to describe how you're doing. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, enter on 3. 1, 2, 3, enter. Yeah. So awesome. All right. Can we all give Frisia and Heather a round of applause, some love? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This was such a treat. And thanks, squad, for being here. I'll send the recording and everything out on Slack and via email and all that good stuff. But thanks for being here, and talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao for now.
Thank you so much.
Bye. That was awesome.
That was awesome. Thank you.